Hey guys, hope things are going good. We're almost done with phase 2 of learning. Hopefully by the end of this week, I'll end up having some information on what phase 3 of remote learning is going to end up looking like. But y'all keep up the good work. Keep working on watching these videos, doing the assignments, and hopefully we'll get through this soon. Looking at our learning guide, this has been really helpful for me, just to make sure that we're all on the same page and I know what I'm supposed to be doing for today. We don't have a ton of notes, 15 slides, and then you don't necessarily have an assignment, but I do want you to practice hand washing. There's a rubric put together, there's pictures I've got put in for the different types, I guess, of hand washing that y'all are going to be working on. There is the rubric that we will get back to. But jumping right on in to the notes, get through it, get it done. We're going to be talking about aseptic techniques to maintain equipment, maintain a clean environment, making sure that everything is clean. All surgical instruments, all of that stuff has absolutely nothing on it. Nothing has touched it. So aseptic techniques, it's done to keep a sterile environment. Make sure that it's disease-free, contaminant-free. Typically, it's going to be done for surgeries. Surgery room, it's really, really important that you have a clean, sterile, aseptic workplace. Different sterile techniques include washing your hands frequently, because we touch a lot. We touch way more than we probably realize. Washing our hands frequently, wearing gloves when we're handling animals, because you never know what's on them or what they could be carrying. And then cleaning all surfaces with disinfectant. Tables, counters, shelves, handles, everything with some kind of disinfectant. Something called a nasamial. I've been struggling to say that correctly, and I can never actually do it. I can't do it again. Whatever. Don't judge me. Infection when a human causes a spread of disease and the contamination of another animal, because they weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. They were not sterile, they were not aseptic, they were not using the proper practices or clean equipment. The animal was a healthy animal that should not have been contaminated was contaminated because sterile practices were not done, or allowing contagious animals to be in contact with healthy animals. So not automatically quarantining another animal if you're not sure if there's anything wrong with it. Nosocomial, I'm definitely saying that wrong. It's basically when an animal gets sick or a disease is continued to be spread because a human, didn't do what they were supposed to do. It could be laziness, it could be they forgot, it could be they didn't realize, but regardless, a human helped a disease to spread because they weren't doing the things that they should be doing. So this is kind of just a guide, a chart of different things. Hand washing, first and foremost, very important before you get started. Make sure your hands are very clean. And then figuring out, okay, gloves. Do I need gloves at all? Probably. Maybe not, but probably. You can go with non-sterile gloves, the ones that you typically see in boxes where you just go in, you grab them out, and you put them on. Or you can do sterile gloves, which have been individually wrapped, sealed, and they are aseptic. Anything about your aseptic field? Getting a sterile towel. Is your equipment, is it packaged kind of like the gloves are so that it's aseptic, or is it on a clean tray? and it came out of an autoclave. And it's on this clean tray because it just came out and it's aseptic. You have the non-touch technique that you should absolutely be doing. Typically it's going to be with like needles or something where you don't want to touch the key parts, where so you got the needle in the cap, and then you got the syringe, and you attach them so that the cap is still on. You remove the cap, you don't touch the needle, and then you insert it into the vial so that you can get whatever it is that you need to get in the syringe without ever contaminating the needle, which is going to be going inside of the animal. And then when you're done, taking those gloves off, disposing of them, and washing your hands all over again. Just general practices, housekeeping, you want to maintain good hygiene, good odor control. You don't want vets to come in, or not even vets, but you don't want clients to come in and the first thing that they do is smell your kennels in the back. That's going to turn someone away. If the kennels can't even be clean, how are you going to take care of my animals? Making sure that the facilities are clean, they're disinfected. Every room is disinfected after each client leaves, each patient leaves, and maintaining this kind of clean as you go attitude. Before I leave this room, let me make sure that it's clean. Before I leave this animal, let me make sure that everything here is clean. And then also making sure that you're cleaning properly. Good hand hygiene is very, very important, because I don't know. I wish I knew the actual statistic. I would say maybe like 75% of all disease is going to be spread through hand contact, through people not having their hands clean the way that they should. And there are correct ways to wash your hands to make sure that you're getting all of those germs off. Signs, like make sure you wash your hands, are very important they have to be up in the clinic to remind people, because every now and then we do need a reminder of, hey, make sure your hands are clean before you get going. You want to use antibacterial hand soap to try to kill everything. Hand sanitizer all around is always a good, if you can't get to wash your hands for whatever reason right now, here's some hand sanitizer, this should be okay. It is just so windy here today. When you're washing your hands, general practices, this picture down here, if the little bar will go away, shows you what part of the hands typically get cleaned. The skin colored part is the part that actually gets cleaned. The blue part is what kind of gets cleaned, but not always and not the way it should. And then the red parts are the part that rarely get cleaned on the hand. That's a good majority of the hand. So when you're washing your hands, you want to put palm to palm to start out with. You want to make sure you go between the fingers. You can see at the bottom the red in between the fingers where people rarely do that. You want to get the backs of your hands. You want to get the base of your thumb right in here. You rarely get that. And think of how many things you have to hold using your thumb. How many things are touching the base of your thumb. Get the backs of your fingers. Get your fingernails like on top and even under. Go all the way to your wrist because your gloves are going to be on your wrist, and then you want to rinse and dry. There's a lot of our hands that we don't actually end up washing. So when you want to do basic hand washing with soap and water, which was what was essentially on the last slide, when you're working with food, you're prepping it, you're eating it before you even eat it. When you're caring for someone who's sick, before, so you don't carry anything to them, and then after, so you don't carry anything out to other people. Before and after treating a cut or a wound. It's a wound into the body. You don't want to put anything in the wound, and you don't want to take anything away from the wound. Anytime you touch catheters or drains, before and after, most definitely. Gross. Hopefully you absolutely wash your hands after having to touch things like catheters. Changing diapers, cleaning up a toilet. Toilets are my least favorite. Mark cleans toilets at our house. Anytime you're around that stuff, love kids. Man, kids are gross. Kids are gross. After you use the toilet, after you blow your nose, after coughing, sneezing, it's really important that when you cough into your elbow. You don't want to cough into your hands because, oh, saliva, germs, everything on my hands. Now I'm going to go grab and touch everything. And sneezing, same thing, into your elbow. You want to wash your hands after you touch an animal, any animal feed, animal waste, because you don't want to take something from one animal and bring it to the next. After touching garbage, after cleaning anything up, after removing your gloves, because those gloves just touch things that your hands weren't meant to touch. So if you're taking off your gloves, you might have got some of that on you now that you took off your gloves. Go wash your hands again. And then when you get to work and before you leave. You don't want to bring anything into work or take anything out. When you want to do aseptic hand washing, this is the deep clean. Before you touch any wounds, before you do any kind of invasive procedure where you're going to have to open up an animal and go in there. When you're dealing with any kind of infections, especially after dealing with those infections, or anytime you're working with a contaminated patient, a patient that is or could be carrying a contagious disease. So here is how you do some aseptic hand washing. You don't want to touch anything with your hands. It is hand-to-hand contact, and that's it. Your hands don't touch anything else. A lot of times they'll have something like, there's my mouse, like this, where you're going to use your elbow to pump whatever it is into your hand. You're not going to use your hand. No. Your hands are getting clean. You're not touching anything with your hands. You're going to rub them together. Again, get between the fingers. Get the fingernails. Get right in here, the base of your thumbs. And then after you do that, then you got to go and dry them off when your hands are dry. You don't touch anything with your hands. The clinic will have some kind of way set up for you to dry your hands without having to touch anything. You might have to rip a paper towel off, but it's not going to be like a paper towel roll where it takes you having to do that. A lot of times it can be like a sterile towel where you take it, it's completely clean, you dry your hands off, and then you put it in, this needs to go wash. But you don't want to touch anything with your hands, from the sink to the soap dispenser to where you're going to be getting whatever it is to dry your hands off. You don't touch anything with your hands, because the next thing you're going to go do is to go put on gloves. And your hands need to be aseptic before you put on those gloves. So there is a hand washing rubric. I'll go over it later. For your assignment, you're going to practice both types of hand washing. You're going to practice this where you can use your hands to like turn on the faucet, get the soap, so on and so forth. And aseptic, so that you kind of know the difference. Like the in-between steps are very similar of like you need to wash all of your hands and how you're going to wash all of your hands, but the before steps of like what you can and can't touch, those are the things that are different. So making sure the exam rooms are clean, they're sanitized. You want to make sure they're safe. There's no disease in there. It's cleaned after every patient is seen and at the end of the day, and probably before the day even starts. You want to pick one point and start with, and then just kind of work your way around. If you want to start cleaning at this table, then you're going to clean everything on this table, and you're going to work your way all the way around. Most people say to work clockwise because clockwise just makes more sense than going counterclockwise. But I mean, whatever your system is, you want to start at one place and you want to continue moving to the next until you get all the way back around and not skip anything in between. You want to clean using either an up or down motion or a side to side. You don't really want to do both because one, you can end up leaving streaks. Two, you can end up dragging things back that were supposed to be getting cleaned off. Trash should be cleaned up on a regular basis. Cold tray chemicals should be changed on a regular basis. So thinking about the cold tray that we talked about last class, where after you're done, you drop your instruments in there and it's full of the sanitizer. Not hand sanitizer, but the pool sterilizer, sanitizer. At some point, it's going to start losing its potency and its effectiveness, and it's going to need to be changed out. And then the floor should be swept and cleared after every single patient. No one wants to walk into an exam room and see hairballs everywhere. When you're sanitizing a kennel, you want to make sure that you remove everything from in there, bedding, toys, bowls, everything that can be washed and sanitized is gonna be. The bedding is going to the washing machine. The toys, they're gonna get wiped off with some kind of sanitizing chemical. The bowls, they're gonna get washed out very thoroughly. A lot of times you're gonna want things to soak. So your animal is gonna want toys that are gonna be okay soaking. Rubber toys, you're probably not going to want to soak a tug of war rope because that's not going to end up too well. So a lot of times those toys may not necessarily even be allowed because they're just going to have to get thrown away. Remove all the feces, urine, any dirty stuff from inside the kennel using paper towels or a scoop or something, and you need to discard it. Wash all the sides of the kennels, including the walls, including the doors, the grates, the latches, all that stuff. It needs to be cleaned using a washcloth with disinfectant and warm water. You want to let the disinfectant stand on the cage for a while, and then you're going to rinse it again with some warm water, always warm water. And then dry everything, go back through, make sure there isn't any extra disinfectant sitting there, make sure everything's dry, make sure the bedding is clean, the bowls are clean, the toys are sanitized, put everything back in there. So different chemicals and sanitizers and cleaners and things like that. The first one is antiseptics. Antiseptics they're solutions that destroy tiny little microorganisms that are going to grow on or live on living things. Antiseptics are really good disinfecting agents because microorganisms are kind of the thing that we're really worried about at the vet clinic. When you're trying to pick out one, you want to think about the spectrum of activity. So essentially, what can this thing kill and what can this thing not? Think of Lysol, kills 99.9% of germs. What can't it kill? That's what we need to look for. So you want to make sure that your antiseptics are able to kill everything that it should be, and if it can't, then you need to find something else to kind of work together with those things. What surfaces can you use to clean it? If you are not supposed to use this on fabric, then okay, can't use this on fabric. I need to find something that will work on fabric. How much time does it need for the disinfectant to sit on whatever surface it is? How long does it need to sit on the exam table? How long does it need to sit on the kennel walls? Can I wipe it immediately, or does it need to sit up there for 5 minutes? Any inhibiting factors, so uses that you shouldn't, things you should not be using this cleaner for. Not approved for X, Y, and Z. Not recommended to clean, what can't you use it on? And then any toxic effects. Is this going to harm a human or an animal if it's left out or if it isn't used exactly how the directions say it should be used? This is, again, why it's very, very important to follow the directions. When you're laundering materials, so when you're cleaning things at the vets, laundry is super, super important. And God, if laundry is not my least favorite chore. But laundry is super important because you have to find some way to clean those fabric things. You can't just spray it with some Lysol and call it a day. It needs to be washed in warm water, with detergent, with sanitizer. It needs to be completely washed so there's no germs, microorganisms, any of that stuff up there. When you're doing laundry, you want to sort by things used in surgery. So things like drapes and towels, those are going to get washed in one load. Regular hospital materials, things like bedding, those are going to get washed in another load. And then contagious items, things used in the quarantine or the isolation unit. Things that could very well contain some kind of contagious microorganism. That's going to get washed separately. You want to, sorting laundry is very, very important. Again, it's another reason that I don't like laundry. A lot of items are going to require you to pre-treat them, which is typically just going to be filling up the washing machine and letting it soak with some of the detergent. And you want to use high temperatures. High temperatures kill bacteria and microorganisms. Hot water is expensive, yes, but hot water is also going to be what definitely kills those microorganisms. So steps for doing laundry at the clinic. You want to sort everything. You want to make sure you have everything in a good size, because if you have a huge pile of laundry, and you could probably fit it all in the washing machine, there's no guarantee that all of it is going to come clean. There's no guarantee that when you put it in the dryer, it's all going to get dried. The best thing you want to do is sort everything the way it needs to be, and then make sure your laundry sizes are appropriate. You don't want to overload the washer or dryer, because it's not going to work, and it's your chances of making sure everything is clean and sterile go way down. Pre-treat the laundry by letting it soak. Set a washing machine cycle for whatever load size it is. Make sure that you have the proper temperature, usually warm or hot water. There may be some things where you have to read the label and it says like, only use warm water, do not use hot water, so on and so forth. Also important to read the labels. Make sure you know what's not going to work. Some things, if you put them in hot water, they will literally disintegrate. Someone's not going to be happy if it goes into the washing machine and nothing comes out. So making sure you also read the labels. Add your laundry detergent, start the cycle. When it's done, go on ahead and put it in the dryer. If you let it sit for too long, then it's going to end up spoiling, and it's going to smell really bad, and you're going to have to wash it again, and you're going to be behind on laundry. So go on ahead and move it over to the dryer and get things drying. When it's dry, immediately fold everything, put it wherever it's supposed to be. If it's supposed to go back to the quarantine unit, there it goes. If it's supposed to be folded and kept in storage, there it goes. The reason I hate laundry is because I'm really bad at putting it up after it's done. So step number 6, that's where they would get me. I'm really bad at putting up laundry immediately after it's done. But in a vet clinic, that has to be done. You can't let it sit because someone may need it, and then it's going to be in the dryer. No one's going to know where to look. No one's going to know why it's not where it should be. Continuing with the surgical asepsis, making sure everything is clean. You want to prevent any organisms from entering the patient any kind of way. In the surgical suite, that can be through incision when you're opening up an animal. It could be through inhalation if you have them hooked to the ventilator, or it could be through anesthesia. You want to make sure that everything in there is clean. All the items are sterile. The ventilation, I kind of touched on this last lecture, but the ventilation in the surgical suite has to be separate from the normal hospital ventilation. You don't want the air from the waiting room or from the kennel coming into the surgical suite, and vice versa. You don't want the air from the surgical suite going to the kennel or the waiting area. So the surgical suite ventilation is its own separate thing. It goes off and it gets outputted outside of the building. And in the surgical suite, of course, only surgical procedures should be done. Maintaining the surgical suite, you want to make sure that everything is clean, and that actually does include the ceiling. Sometimes maybe a little blood vessel burst, shoots up to the ceiling, might somehow get some poop up there. Who knows? Maybe the ventilation grabs the microorganisms and pulls it up to try to get it out, and they get on the ceiling and they stay there. So So the ceiling should be cleaned off daily, mopped once a week. Yeah, that's right, mopping once a week, and changing the ventilation filters weekly to make sure that there aren't any microorganisms or anything like that trapped in the filters that can either find their way out or just stay there and congregate. Cleaning off the walls, again, you want to spot clean after every procedure. After every patient leaves, everything needs to be cleaned. And then the surgical suite is going to be, the walls also going to be mopped daily. When it comes to the counters and any shelves, disinfect those daily, spot clean them after each surgery, and any used items in the medical waste container and the sharps container should be disposed of each day. The floors are going to be mopped daily, or as needed, but at least minimum daily. And the equipment is also going to be cleaned daily. The equipment needs to be cleaned and disinfected according to whatever the manufacturer's recommendations are on how whatever the piece of equipment should be cleaned. Your permanent fixtures, the things that you cannot move that are there, are going to be cleaned daily. They've seen a lot, they've been through a lot. They need to be cleaned every day. The table needs to be cleaned off after every use, absolutely, most definitely, probably, possibly the most important. I don't want to say probably. And then the surgical ties are going to be washed weekly unless something gets on them and they need to be washed. So we're going to say that's it for the day. I'm going to attach this rubric. Y'all go through. I definitely recommend practicing washing your hands via this method and also using this picture, because the PowerPoint should be up on Edmodo, using this picture to go through and practice the aseptic technique for washing your hands. Join me Tuesday, Thursday, 1 o'clock for Zoom lunch, please. I miss you guys. I'm really, really sad that I'm not going to get to see you guys for the rest of the year, but I'm hopeful that we're going to figure out something for graduation, and then I'll get to see you guys soon. But take it easy. Let me know what it is that I can do to help you guys. Hopefully I'll see y'all on Zoom, and I should have some news at the end of this week in regards to what phase 3 of learning is going to end up looking like. But I'll see you guys soon. Bye, y'all.